Good morning, San Diego. Welcome to another episode of Among Three Potted Plants and a ton of jerseys. I'm your host, Vladimir. That's a lot of consonants. Just call me Vlad. Our first guest today is none other than Bill Kochevsky, memory expert and a deep dish pizza connoisseur.
What's up, Mikey? How you doing? My name's Bill.
Hey Bill, so you're here to tell us about the memory today.
Well, yes I am, and I see you're what is that? Oh, Jets fan, yikes. Anyways, so since you're a Jets fan, you know a lot about repressed memory, okay, Mikey? And I do too, 2018, Cody Parkey, double doink, I don't want to go down that road, repressed memory. Anyways, so now we go into the three types of memory. Three of them, Mikey. So we got short-term memory, That's also known as the working memory. It's your current situation, problem solving, got it in front of you, get it done, as us Chicagoans like to say, Now, we got the long-term memory, kind of the opposite, recollection of previous experiences, like when you saw Grandma fall in the kitchen and she had to call the life alert around her neck. It's all good though. She's all good, Grandma's okay. Anyways, then we go to sensory, and sensory is the brain's memory of past stimulations, So like, when you're eating a hot dog or nachos at halftime during the Bears game when they're losing by 40 to the Packers, and then you taste that 4 hours later and you don't know if it's the feed or the food. And really that's your brain telling you that it just needs to stay there because you haven't learned your lesson enough apparently. But that's sensory memory when something's left over from a previous stimulus.
Are those Starburst in your Mountain Dew?
Why, yes they are. In Chicago we call it the deep dish Dr. 7. Now with neotame.
Ouch. I'm suppressing this memory, Bill.
Cheers, Marty. You got a fizz, Marty. Anyways, you didn't let me finish, you being a typical New York Jets fan. But you know who else is from New York? My boy, Danny Schechter, wrote a great book, 7 Sins of Memory. All about the imperfections of memory, kind of like the imperfections in yourself, Marty. Anyways, then we go to emotional memories, which are easier to remember than factual memories for obvious reasons, because emotions are more powerful than facts, because look at the government. Anyways, to study, you gotta memorize things, right? And when you memorize things, you make connections, and you do repetition, kind of like how I repeatedly stuttered throughout this entire thing, It's just how it works, and repetitively say,
Well, Bill, you sure you know your stuff. So what can lead to your memory loss?
Oh, well, memory loss, that is caused by interference of memory, traumatic brain injury, diseases like Alzheimer's, no joke, by the way, so that's why I'm not going to make a joke there. And then when you start learning, because you got to learn about all this stuff, right? Your neural connections form and your synaptic connections can change. And that's basically how learning occurs. And yeah, I wish I would have learned not to be a Bears fan.
Well, Bill, you're not a big learning guy. So I think we've heard enough from Chicago today. Go buy yourself a deep dish pizza and a Dr. 7. Now with neotame.
Now, a brief word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm a world-renowned doctor, physician, bionuclear chemist, and dog food tester. Today I'm here to talk about the book, Psychology, Making Connections. Now not only does this book cover the topics we learned about today, learning, intelligence, and memory, but hundreds more as well. Pick one up today for only $777.
Now, back to Among Three Potted Plants and a ton of jerseys.
Next on set we have, there's no name here. Well, I'm just going to call you G77. Well, come on set and tell me about learning, G77.
Hey, thanks, Vlad. Brought you a protein shake. You've been pumping with Jeff the Hulk Glaspie.
That I have. Glaspie, what a guy. Now, tell me about learning.
So, learning is the enduring behavior changes that occur with experience. I'm going to talk to you about a few specific examples. The first one is habituation and orienting. This is where you adapt to stimuli in your environment. The next one is association, which you link one thing to another thing, such as you would link swimming with water, as typically people don't swim on land. Latent learning is where you subconsciously retain information without necessarily having to. Like, if you learn a fact and you're like, I don't really have any use for this. In the future, you might or you might not, but your brain still holds on to it. Social learning is where you learn from those around you, such as friends or family. Imprinting happens when you copy your parents in particular, and imitation is also copying, but not necessarily of your parents.
Wait a minute. Is this protein shake just a bottle filled with sunflower seeds?
Yep.
So, I hear some dude's dog was responsible for the conditioning aspect of learning.
That's right. Ivan Pavlov was actually researching digestion in dogs, and to do this he was taking saliva samples, and he learned a couple of interesting things. He created a theory called conditioned learning, where he saw that the dogs would begin to salivate even before they were brought food. They became conditioned to know that the tubes meant to collect saliva actually meant that food was coming, and this was called conditioned.
Interesting. The more you know. You got anything else to tell us today about learning?
I do have a little bit else. So synaptic changes happen when you don't use your information. Your brain can't hold on to all of it all the time, so it's meant to prune a little bit out. Take whatever you don't use and you lose it. So you got to make sure you practice everything or you're going to lose it.
Well, it was nice speaking with you today, G77. So, as you're leaving the set, I just got one thing to leave you with. See you in heaven, G77.
Hey, it's pretty radical being with you here, Vladical.
Get off my set.
No.
Now, a brief word from our sponsors.
Hey man, throw me a Razadine. Thanks to Razadine, I remember what I'm doing here, filming a commercial.
Razadine is a prescription medication commonly used to treat mild confusion and dementia related to the disease Alzheimer's. Note, this product is not a cure for the disease, but it may improve cognitive thinking and ability to perform everyday tasks. Side effects may include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, dizziness, drowsiness, loss of appetite, and weight loss. If your side effects worsen, contact your medical professional immediately.
Thanks to, what's it called? Oh yeah, Razadine, I've regained my cognitive ability.
Now, back to among 3 potted plants and a ton of jerseys.
This segment of Among 3 Potted Plants and a Ton of Jerseys was primarily unintelligible. To compensate, I'm here to tell you what the dialogue should have included. Intelligence is a set of cognitive thinking skills, including abstract thinking, reasoning, problem solving, and the ability to acquire knowledge. Intelligence tests that measured intelligence in the early 1900s arose, and 2 main theories came to play. The first is the Charles Spearman theory of general ability. This was the idea that all factors of intelligence are linked and constant. An example of this is saying that one who scores well verbally on the intelligence test should score well spatially, perceptually, and quantitatively too. The second is the idea of multiple abilities. The first one to come up with a theory for this was Raymond Cattell. His idea is that test scores aren't everything and intelligence is more complex. He diverted this into 2 subcategories, fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence. Fluid intelligence is the part of your intelligence that handles problem solving and pattern recognition. Crystallized intelligence is more about your past experiences, learning ability, education, and practice of knowledge. John Carroll categorized intelligence into 3 subcategories. General intelligence, which was similar to Spearman's idea that intelligence falls under one general category. Broad intelligence, which was a compilation of fluid and crystallized intelligence, and narrow intelligence, which was the idea that each individual has specific abilities under an intellect. Next comes the idea of measuring intelligence. One common concept used in this is one's mental age. It's their equivalent chronological age based on an intelligence test score. William Stern was the first to use this application towards testing. He first came up with the idea of an intelligence ratio, which was a mental age divided by their chronological age multiplied by 100. This was later categorized as their intelligence quotient, or IQ. After this, many other individuals came up with their own tests. A few examples are the Stanford-Binet test and the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scores. This was later adapted to fit children as well. These tests not only predict academic success and job type, but salary as well. They're not perfect, but they're a good indicator as the potential to one. There are also outliers within the mental capacity. Mental retardation is often referred to as the limited intellect functioning in everyday life in one before the age of 18. On the opposite side of the spectrum, there's giftedness. A prodigy, for example, demonstrates an IQ of 130 to 140 points around third grade. They're gifted in one specific area and at least average in other areas. Savant syndrome, on the other hand, is when one with mental handicaps excels in one particular area. Some other factors that may contribute to intelligence are nature versus nurture and ethnicity and gender. However, these are really controversial and their relevance and beliefs aren't really agreed upon. Views and values of intelligence vary outside the US as well. Other countries often value practical intelligence above academic intellect. They often divert this into two subcategories: convergent, which is the process of coming up with a solution by narrowing and eliminating other solutions and answers, and divergent, which requires first time and more creative solutions. Although creativity is a different branch of psychology that gets more complex as it goes. So that's all I've got for you today under intelligence, so back to the rest of the video.
Now, a brief word from our sponsors.
Wow, that tastes 8,000 times sweeter than sucrose per gram per cubic centimeter. Dr. Seven, you're the fizz.
You fool, you have fallen victim to the classic blunder. That was tetrodotoxin. It takes only 20 milligrams to be lethal, and you just consumed 49/58 of a cup.
Hold on, wait, didn't we do this before?